How do you identify problems with your long jump technique, and more importantly, how do you correct them?
Today, her lifetime best is actually 6 meters indoors.
We're going to take a look at one of my jumpers, Leigh, who competed recently at the British Indoor Trials and achieved a personal best of 6 meters and 4 centimeters. So you might think that all is well. Well, of course, the PB is great, but there are a lot of issues with her jumping. Things that we've been working on that have improved, and things that haven't moved on so quickly. And also, of course, things that developed in the competition that affected her distance. We're going to take a look at the PB jump and a 602 and a couple of other jumps, including a long foul in round 6.
Time best is actually 6 meters indoors.
Okay, let's start with the run-up. Now, Leigh starts her run-up pretty slowly. Now, I want her to start more quickly so that she can utilize her speed and not be quite so controlled. So, towards the end of the competition, I did manage to get her to run faster over those first 2 to 3 steps, and it did result in a longer jump, albeit it was a marginal foul. However, earlier on in the competition, I didn't want to push that aspect too much, as we needed to get jumps in. You need to impart good directed force at the start of your run-ups, and the first 2 to 4 steps are crucial. If they are too ponderous, too slow, then that's going to have a negative effect on your ultimate top end speed. Now, Leigh's knee lift has improved significantly as we've been training over the last 8 months or so, and in the middle phase it's not too bad. But as she comes into the board, the knee lift starts to lower. Now that results in decreased velocity, horizontal velocity into the board, and will also disrupt the way that she takes off. So the take home message here for her and for you guys is to keep the hips up and consistently lift the knees through the pull through of the heel from the back of the body to the front to keep those knees, those thighs up as you go into the board. Leigh has had an issue with jumping in to the penultimate step, which literally puts the brakes on. Now, it's nowhere near as evident in these jumps here as it was in some jumps earlier on in the season and when she first came to me as a jumper. She's now getting into the habit of running through the board and attacking it. So, this jumping into the takeoff and the braking on the penultimate stride, what do we do to correct that? Well, we can use mat drills. Now, regular channel members, viewers will know that I utilize mat drills consistently through my jumpers training. Please do take a look at some of the other videos on the channel which go into great detail about how to use mats in order to get the optimized long jump takeoff. However, in a competition, you obviously can't use mats to cue the takeoff. So, what can I say as a coach, and what can you think about to really attack the board? Well, what I will often explain to my jumpers is the need to keep moving forwards, to keep the hips and the knees going forwards as you come into the board. Don't hesitate, keep attacking, keep going forwards. Another aspect of Leigh's jumping that also occurs, and that reflects back also on the braking in the penultimate, is a block on the board. Now in the competition this was not so evident as she was running in pretty quickly. However, there was a block, and you can almost see that when she strikes the board, the free leg does not advance quickly enough in front of the hips to drive her forwards, to pull her forwards off of the board. So there is a little bit of a, what I call, stuffing of the foot into the board and a block that reduces her speed across the takeoff. So to reduce the chances of that happening, yes, it's all about the penultimate step and not breaking into that. It's also about keeping the knees going forwards and the hips going forwards 3 to 4 strides out, well indeed from the start of the run-up, so that you go across the board. But it's also about being able to get the free thigh in front of the hip at takeoff to get that takeoff drive that I constantly refer to. Many jumpers will slow down at the board, and that's because potentially they don't know how to set up the jump properly through the use of a flat foot on the penultimate and minimal lowering of the centre of mass, or they're developing a lot of speed and they've not done sufficient longer jump work in training, say for example of 14 to 16 strides if your run-up is 20 to 22, and therefore they don't have the ability, the timing, the neuromuscular coordination needed to lift off out of speed. Now, with any athlete, you need to understand where they started from and where the end goal is at any point in the season. So with Leigh, we started teaching her the hitch kick and the takeoff and a slower rotation from day one, which was about October of 2022. She only recently has begun to be able to get height from the board through the specific drills that we've been doing, and also because of the way that she's began to understand how to jump. So there is vast improvement in the way that she is taking off at the moment, but there's still a long way to go. Now, Leigh does a hitch kick, and again, because of the lack of the hip penetration at takeoff, it's over and done with a little bit too quickly. And I know as her coach that this is really identifiable by the way that she lands. On a very short drive takeoff with virtually no hip drive, she will pivot backwards on landing and almost hit the back of her head into the sand. Now, in some of the jumps at the trials, that wasn't quite as bad, but if you look really closely, you will see that there's backward rotation and she's losing valuable landing distance, and that is all ensuing from the takeoff. And again, saying the same thing, not setting up the jump properly. Her positions in the air, in terms of the arm going over the top and the long lever leg down below, are pretty effective. However, as indicated, it's the takeoff and the lack also of pushing the foreleg out and climbing into the first part of the hitch kick that is creating the problems later on into flight. So we need to work on that hold of the takeoff at speed, because she can now do it from a shorter run-up. It's all about progression, working out what she, in Leigh's case, needs to work on, consistently tackling that. If you don't, then you're not going to be able to jump optimally. It requires a lot of specific focus and really analysing what you as a jumper need to work on. Well, I hope the technical and detailed explanations of the long jump in regard to Leigh's performances will help you understand how you can jump better and what you can do to improve your jumping. If you have any specific questions on the subject matter of this particular video, then do leave a comment in the section below or through my other social media. And please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification icon so that you'll be made aware as to when I upload new content. And do also give this video a thumbs up, a like.